Good evening. Welcome back. We are past the halfway point on RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under season 3, and the talent pool is whittling down as some amazing queens are going home every week. And sadly and unfortunately, but blessed for me, we get to speak to the amazing Ashley Madison today. Hello, darling.
Hi, how are you?
I am fantastic. What a roller coaster for you. What a roller
Mm.
coaster. Literally, from the top of the pack to being sent packing the next week. How was that to come out at the other end after such a high?
Honestly, it was I think it was my time. Obviously I was bottom safe, win, and then home. And I think that like I walked into that week like in my head a little bit, feeling a bit vulnerable and feeling a bit emotional because I didn't expect to win Snatch Game, but didn't expect to go on Drag Race and win anything. So I think that was a very big high that I had. I think that shook me a bit, but it meant that when I did go home, I was very okay with it.
What made you so vulnerable after having such success? I feel like they should have just empowered you so much to be like, I got this by the balls.
Well, you would think that, but I walked onto Drag Race with not a lot of confidence. And it may like I think I came across quite cocky, but it was kind of this facade that I've built up as Ashley over the years. And I walked on being like, I don't know why I've been cast. I don't know what part I fit into this show. I don't know what category I'm meant to be. So I walked in being like, okay, I'm going to go home in the first couple of episodes and I'm okay with that. I'm going to go on Drag Race. I'm going to do the best that I can. I'll go home in the first couple of episodes and that'll be that and that'll be fine. And then that kind of happened. First 3 episodes I was bottom safe. And so I was kind of like, well, this is going to be my storyline. This is what I expected. And then all of a sudden I won Snatch Game. And it was so overwhelming because I was like, to me, it was like winning the crown because I didn't expect to win Drag Race. I didn't expect to take home the crown. I didn't even prepare a finale dress because I didn't think I was going to make it that far. And then so to win Snatch Game, I was like, oh wait, what? I didn't expect to be in this position. And then I struggled, I think, with questioning why I didn't have that faith in myself beforehand and why I didn't think highly enough of myself to do that. So then I started questioning like the difference between Sean and Ashley and where I'm at. And then I think that's what got me in my head.
That's a really fascinating response because you just came off so confident and you were so talented. I hope watching back, have you reflected and increased your confidence now looking back at how well you actually did perform on the show, regardless of when you're in the bottom or when you went home?
Um, I think so. I mean, it's interesting because like I used to like, and I think I mentioned a little bit. I thought I could be funny. I thought that like I could be funny with friends and kind of do that back and forth. And as a drag queen, I've been hosting for like years. I do hens parties and corporates, and I host trivias and bingos, and I like to think that I'm able to have that back and forth. But I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to like switch it on for Drag Race. But thankfully, like walking out of this, I now have kind of a newfound confidence in my kind of comedic ability, and the fact that that worked so well with Rue and all of that. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely things that I'll be changing about my drag and the way that I do drag. I'll make sure that my pants fit before I go onto a TV show next time. But overall, I think it was a great experience and it was fun.
We'll never forget Tittygate ever.
No, never.
You've got a lot of external influences as well before you went in. You a besties with Beverly Kills. I always going to say Beverly Leslie. Beverly Kills, and of course you work with Bumpa and with Isis as well. Did that? How did that factor into your approach going in as well? Did Beverly give you lots of inside goss, and were the other two making you shit your pants?
Well, yeah. So Beverly gave me so much information. It was like it was she was a great source of information when it came to preparing for the show. She I don't know if I should say. I'm gonna say it. She told me that she goes, make sure to bring your porn on a USB and make sure it's an MP4 format so that you can plug it into the TV and get the job done. Because she came prepared with a USB herself, but it was the wrong format, so she wasn't able to use it. So that was a very handy tool that helped release some tension while we were filming Drag Race. But when it comes to Isis and Bumper, they were incredibly tight-lipped. Like they were like, oh, I'm on. Like I was a lot more able, like I was, I guess I don't want to say loose-lipped, but obviously I was working at the venue prior to Drag Race, so I had to talk to the manager and be like, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna probably be off for these couple of weeks. So and then so I had to have those conversations. But Bumper owns the venue, so she didn't have to have those conversations with me. So she was aware that I was in that situation, and she was aware that Isis was in that situation, but we weren't 100% sure that she was in that situation. And it was interesting actually, because when I got shortlisted, I went to a night where Isis was hosting, and I said to her, I was like, hey, like this really exciting thing has happened. I've been shortlisted for Drag Race, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, oh my God, that's so exciting for you. And I was like, yeah, like, blah, 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 like, and I kept her up to date because she's been such an influence in my drag career. And I even sat down with her after a show one time, and I was like, yeah, I'm preparing this, I'm preparing this, I'm preparing this. And I was in touch with some of the other girls, Amal and Ivory. We had a group chat prior to Drag Race. And I was like, I'm preparing this, 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 and this, but I'm not telling them because I don't want them to think that I'm over preparing. But I've written my rap, and I've written, reads that I might be able to fit on people, and I've prepared my Snatch Game characters. And Isis was like, amazing. And then it wasn't until that night I got a message from, I think it was Ivory, that was like, I heard that Isis might be cast. And I was like, you're joking. You are joking. And then so I messaged Isis, and I was like, so are you cast for Drag Race? And she's like, no. And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, bitch, I'll see you there. And then there we go. There she was.
Wow. I mean, that's got to be so tricky for the three of you, like navigating that, such a tricky pull. You're not supposed to tell anybody.
Yeah.
And then you've got three people in the same place. So that's got to have been a tricky thing to navigate. And then you get there, and I feel like the relationship dynamic was different to when we've had people from the same venue before. There was a lot of respect amongst the three of you, particularly when it comes to Bumper. Respect, terrifying fear. I wasn't sure. Then you had to go against her. Did you think you stood a chance going against someone with so much experience as Bumper when you got into that lip sync?
When I got into the lip sync, I wasn't too sure. I know Bumper is a trained dancer. So I know that Bumper can move, but I know that Bumper, was a trained dancer many moons ago. So I wasn't quite sure, where things were going to go. But if there's one thing that Bumpa Love can do, it's like command an audience. She's very good at commanding a room, and I've seen her do that hundreds of times. And so, I was trying to connect with the judges in that moment, and I was trying to be powerful, and I was trying to be punchy, but there's this aura that Bumper has, this energy that Bumper has that is just captivating. And 9 times out of 10, when I was looking at that judging panel, they were looking at Bumper, and I was like, this is it.
You knew your time had come.
Yeah.
RuPaul says goodbye, and you turn around, and you gave her the double bitch slap around the head, comparing her to Oprah. How did that go down backstage? Did we see more of a reaction from the judges than you're expecting?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had that line because when they flew us over, they flew me over to New Zealand to film the show. I was actually watching AJ and the Queen while I was flying, and they mentioned Oprah a lot in this moment in the show. And so I was like, oh, I want to bring in an Oprah something. I want to mention Oprah somehow, because I know that Rue will just eat it up. And then so I hadn't even prepared an exit line really. And then so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna have a laugh. I'm gonna go out with a bang. I'm gonna say something that's gonna, have people, laughing, because I think that, obviously I did very well in Snatch Game, didn't do so well in the Girl Group Challenge. So I think that I was like, I just want to have a laugh as I go out, and I think it was the perfect way to do it.
It was the perfect way to go out. And aside from this week just being what a high, it was so close to Snatch Game. I really think we got to see some amazing stuff from you, and I hope that's really buoyed your confidence. Is there any one thing, just before we wrap up, one thing that you really wanted us to see on the show that we didn't get a chance to see from Ashley Madison?
I wish. It's interesting because when it comes to what we were actually filming, I think I'm fine. Like I'm so happy with what I did. I just hope that we saw a bit more, because like I was very helpful to the girls as much as Isis was helping girls. So I was helping girls. So And when it came to like the acting challenge, like I knew my entire group's lines, and so when we were filming that, I was able to help them with their lines and things. So I wish that we saw a little bit more of me being helpful and stuff, but I'm glad that this episode has kind of shown that like I can be vulnerable, and you know, I'm not just this confident, cocky energy. Like there is a person underneath there.
Beautiful. Well, I think it's been a wonderful interview, and it's been great getting so much insight into everything about your time in the show before and after. So thank you very, very much for joining me, Ashley. Everyone else, be sure to make sure to go and follow Ashley and everything else that she has to offer down here on the social medias. And we will be catching up again next week with the latest queen evicted from Drag Race Down Under. Thank you very much for joining us, Ashley.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm Michael James, and I will see you next time.